If you just pay attention to what people actually say over at Xbox, like Sarah Bond or Phil Spencer, you know that Call of Duty coming to Game Pass was in the cards all along. Now, there were reports last week that they were debating behind the scenes whether or not Call of Duty should go on Game Pass. And my issue with that report is that an email sent to, of course you're going to have that discussion. A discussion sent internally saying, hey, are you sure we want to put Game Pass here? Have we talked about these options here? Could be reported as a debate. The reason you go out and buy Activision Blizzard in the first place is because of your plan with Game Pass. And if you don't see that, I don't know what to tell you at this point. And so we're getting these kind of reports here from PC Gamer. Microsoft is reportedly taking the nuclear option, releasing the next Call of Duty day one on Game Pass. Why is that the nuclear option? That term, that phrase means that it's this last ditch effort, as if Xbox is dead if this doesn't work. No, this has been in the cards all along. The reason you go and get Activision Blizzard, the reason you go get Bethesda is because of Game Pass. Without Game Pass, you don't necessarily go get those. Yes, are they nice if your plan is to sell consoles and you want to have these exclusives on there? Sure. But the underlying reason that you go get these is because of your Game Pass subscription service. It's exactly what Netflix has done with their first-party catalog of movies. You can't always rely on third-party entities or third-party products, movies, entertainment to be on your Game Pass, on your subscription platform. You need first-party titles that are unique, that give added value and benefit there. So while Call of Duty is going to be available everywhere, it is available day one as a part of your Game Pass subscription. The most popular game in the world. That's absolutely huge. And so it shocks me. It never fails to blow my mind that people just don't pay attention to the news. Once again, we did a video last week, gaming journalists are failing gaming. Because if you just pay attention, it's logical, it's reasonable, you would know that this is exactly why you go out and get Call of Duty in the first place. I do want to shout out my main man, Jamie Moran, over on Twitter. Go give him a follow. Here's what he has to say, and I think he summarizes what's happening here perfectly. He says, last week, quote, Call of Duty won't be in Game Pass. Game Pass needs to change, remove day one and date. Today, Call of Duty in Game Pass won't work or move the needle. No matter what Xbox does, the forced narrative against them is extremely obvious. I agree with that, actually. I'm sorry. And am I an Xbox fanboy in the sense that Xbox is my place to game of choice? Yes, of course I am. But when you look at the reporting, in fact, just, like this, guys, this was did anybody think they weren't going to put Call of Duty on Game Pass? And it just shifts constantly. So let's take a look at the article here. Microsoft is reporting taking the nuclear option, releasing the next Call of Duty day one on Game Pass. Let's go over it. Let's see if there's a point. Let's see if Ted Litchfield has a point here. They're really going for it. It's unbelievable. Of course they're going for it. This is earth-shaking, earth-shattering. Of course. Game Pass is their strategic growth driver. It's the future alongside cloud gaming. That's the two things. So first reported by the Wall Street Journal, Microsoft is allegedly planning to make this year's new Call of Duty available on Game Pass from day one. According to the Wall Street Journal, Microsoft will officially announce the move during its June showcase in the industry's customary, formerly E3-centered game announcement last week. Can I point something out here? The last few reports have come from financial newspapers or magazines. It's interesting that they're not coming from gaming newspaper or magazine sites, game reporter sites. Why is that, do you think? Do you think that this is a deliberate choice from Microsoft to, if anything leaks, it goes to these websites that are outside of the gaming sphere? Does it help them? Does it help them control the narrative a little bit? It may. I mean, look at this headline here. Why would I release anything to PC Gamer if I'm Xbox? Why would I leak anything to PC Gamer if I'm Xbox? To any of these game sites who have completely overreacted before. I don't know. That's complete conjecture and I may be projecting my own biases there, but it's interesting. Microsoft's game subscription service has been a tentpole initiative in recent years, and its acquisitions of iconic studios like Bethesda and Obsidian has led to old favorites and new releases being made available on PC, Xbox, and mobile for a monthly payment. Call of Duty has always been the big one, though, one of the most profitable media properties ever. No doubt a big driver of the $70 billion cost of buying Activision Blizzard. Call of Duty's inclusion would add a ton of value and new users to Game Pass. It's a lot different than the headline. That hardly seems like a nuclear option there, doesn't it? It is also a bit of a make or break move, and I find it hard to look at with anything but trepidation following the wave after wave of layoffs and studio closures under the Xbox umbrella. Most recently, beloved studios. These are beloved studios now. Tango Gameworks and Arcane Austin. Part of the squeeze has to come from that fresh $70 billion. Part of the squeeze has to come from that fresh $70 billion. Oh, I see, because they spent $70 billion to get Activision Blizzard. The Activision Blizzard shaped hole in the balance sheet, as well as sluggish shells of the Xbox console series, so far matching the pace of last generation's underperforming Xbox One and moving half as many units as Sony's PS5. None of that is disputed necessarily, but can we see like Call of Duty's inclusion, he admits, would add a ton of value and a ton of new users to Game Pass. But it's a make or break move. Ultimately, I think this paragraph gives away the issue. These guys just don't like that Tango Gameworks closed down, and nobody likes that a studio has to close down. But that is what's happening industry-wide. But Game Pass is also in a weird place, according to The Verge. Game Pass failed to meet its subscriber growth targets in 2021 and 2022, while a recent IGN report quoted 2023 subscriber growth as having slowed down even more, with Game Pass inherently cannibalizing traditional sales of games offered on the service, confirmed by a UK regulator as part of the Activision Blizzard merger process and reported by GamesIndustry.biz. So far, everyone, GamesIndustry.biz completely overreacted. I don't trust them at all. IGN, it depends on who's writing it, to be honest, and The Verge also depends on who's writing it, in my opinion. But GamesIndustry.biz clearly has an anti-Game Pass stake in the merger in the cards there for multiple articles all along. Slowing Game Pass growth threatens to turn it into an especially costly blunder in the long run. So Microsoft has a lot of incentives to put the biggest game series ever on Game Pass. It could prove a huge shot in the arm for the service, with many traditional sales still going through on PS5. It still strikes me as a risky bet, though. Glad to know that. Why? Let's see why. That Call of Duty money is guaranteed windfall that Microsoft now wants to adulterate for the sake of Game Pass success. And as members of Digital Foundry pointed out on a recent podcast, once you've got a single Call of Duty release on their day one, it'd be hard to sell Game Pass subscribers to go back on that deal for future Call of Duties should it not work out financially. The thing about subscription services, first of all, it takes a long time to make them truly profitable, and it's all about numbers. Netflix has seen slowed down growth as well. It's all about how it's why cloud is so important for gaming future. But to say that Call of Duty is anything but good for Game Pass, I think is just incorrect. Now, they're not wrong. If they were ever to remove Call of Duty day one from Game Pass, that would be a very hard sell. But they admit up here. Where do they admit it? Where is it at? Call of Duty's inclusion would add a ton of value and new users to Game Pass. That's the goal. That's the goal right there. Dave Oshry, head of FPS studio New Blood, told me earlier this year that they priced their games once fairly reasonably, around $20 to $25, but don't do any of those huge half off or more Steam sales so as not to devalue the games. You can see the same thing with how Nintendo rarely puts its games on sale. I might not like how much I'll have to shell out for the Mario RPG or Paper Mario remakes, but I can't deny it's working out for the publisher, which 10 years ago was solidly in last place among the big three. Call of Duty on Game Pass will likely pay dividends on subscribers in the short term, but the service as a whole may risk devaluing the entire Xbox catalog. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I don't agree with that at all. I think that the service is the Xbox catalog. It doesn't devalue the catalog. The service is the value. Like it's this shift in thinking. It's this shift going forward. No longer are we concerned about individual games. We're concerned about the subscription service as a whole. The individual games serve to bring subscribers to that subscription service. Then again, it's possible Microsoft is right to put all its eggs in the Game Pass basket. If subscriptions are indeed the future of game delivery, being the first to build the biggest one could lead to huge returns. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I agree with that. But at this point, I'm not convinced that a Netflix for games revolution is really imminent, or that it would be good for us if it were. First of all, I would be interested why. Why would it not be good for us? I would imagine he would say it's not good for publishers, but even publishers have said that that's not true. I think that there are very real problems that you can see both Nintendo and PlayStation also trying to address at this time, particularly in console gaming. I think that it is good. I just disagree with that. I think that it is eminent. In fact, pay-per-view is going to Netflix. The Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight is going Netflix. Like everything we consume is via these subscription services. They're the new powerhouses. They're the new producers. They're new production studios. They are determining what content we see. Why it makes sense to me that we also consume gaming in that way. In fact, I have been going through and been testing out cloud gaming as of late, and we're so close. We're so close. It's not perfect. It does work really well for some games. So for instance, turn-based strategy games are where I find the sweet spot to be. Trigger or twitchy trigger games, not so much yet. There's just too much lag there on the cloud gaming side. But you can see we're very close to it. We're right there. And once that takes off, cloud gaming, in fact, I was laying in bed last night playing my Xbox on my iPad with a controller via cloud gaming. What game? Euden Chronicles. That's what I was playing. It's a turn-based JRPG game, and it works perfectly in cloud gaming. So we're very close. In the next 10 years, you don't think that cloud gaming can get there? In the next 5 years, you don't think that cloud gaming could be to this place where even your first-person twitchy shooters could be pretty solid, a very solid experience on cloud? And if that's the case, if that ends up happening, would not a subscription service then be the most ideal route for that? Would it not just make sense? So I do think that I don't think it's a nuclear option. I think overall, I think he was pretty fair here in his write-up. I think my initial issue is just here that it's like this make or break moment on the headline. He basically says that Ted Litchfield here, the writer, does admit that this is gonna bring followers. Of course, that's why you go out and get the biggest franchise on the planet. But he says it's short-term games. Is it short-term games? Isn't every subscriber a long-term game? It's like a gym. You get someone to subscribe to your gym, sign up for your gym, and you've got them for forever. The amount of cancellations that happens at gym is actually very low. That's the point. That's the business model here for Netflix. Not Netflix, for the Netflix of gaming, which I think it's correct. I do. I really do. If we didn't consume the rest of our media, music, movies, etc., via subscription services, I would say no. This doesn't make any sense, but we do. And so it just makes sense to me. So Game Pass is a strategic growth driver for Xbox. They've not been shy about that. I think doing this makes that a part of that strategic growth driver. Like if I could buy Call of Duty on Xbox even, I could buy it on PC, or I could subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate. And once I'm hooked, the value is so good, it's undeniable. Do I not stay? Even if that price increases. So right now it's $16.99. It increased from $14.99 for Game Pass Ultimate. I think it'll probably go up to $19.99, $20, $21.99. Is it not still valuable at that price? Absolutely. It's still worth it at that price. I think a move like this with Call of Duty enhances ecosystem loyalty. I think it strengthens the Xbox ecosystem. Remember, that ecosystem is now Game Pass. Making Call of Duty available on Game Pass enhances that loyalty. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. Call of Duty hasn't been native on Xbox in a while. The 360 it was on all the shows, all the advertising happened, Call of Duty on the 360. What happened during that? The 360 absolutely dominated. Then PlayStation got it during the PlayStation 4 generation and for much of the PlayStation 5 generation now until Xbox purchased Activision Blizzard. And what happened there? PlayStation absolutely dominated. So Call of Duty may be the determining factor of who succeeds. Is there a correlation there? Probably not. But it is interesting to note that whatever platform has been the platform for Call of Duty has succeeded, whether it's the 360 or the PlayStation 4/5 going forward. I think also there's a first mover advantage here that even is addressed in this article here at PC Gamer, that if Xbox is right, I believe they are, the first mover advantage is undeniable and absolutely huge here. And I think, once again, this is why you went and got Activision Blizzard in the first place, so that you can make moves like this. This, if you've been paying attention to Xbox, to what they've been saying, you knew that this was coming all along. Let's continue with this post over here from Derek Strickland, who is from Tweak. What is he from? He's from Tweaktown. He's the gaming editor. Call of Duty shouldn't be treated as a Hail Mary last-ditch effort to sell Xbox consoles. It's not. This, once again, this is where I think gaming journalists are letting us down. It's not a last-ditch effort. It's not the nuclear option. It is in the plan. This is why you go and get it all along. The franchise shouldn't have the weight of being a make-or-break moment for Xbox. Once again, it's not. It's not the make-or-break moment for Xbox. And if it is, I feel Microsoft is doing something wrong. An asset like this needs to be treated carefully. I don't disagree with that. An asset like that needs to be treated carefully. But it's not. Once again, I think what these journalists are doing, and what a lot of the key opinion leaders over on social media do, is they project their own feelings, their own animosity onto Xbox. This is not a last-ditch Hail Mary effort for Xbox. Xbox is not dying. Xbox, with Activision Blizzard, just announced that they're opening a new studio. It's just really interesting to see. Once again, let's end with Jamie Moran. Again, go follow him over on Twitter. Last week, Call of Duty won't be in Game Pass. Game Pass needs to change. Remove day one and date. Today, Call of Duty and Game Pass won't work or move the needle. It's a Hail Mary. It's a nuclear option, etc., etc. Just give me consistency, guys. Stop projecting your own feelings there, and I think that we would be okay. Call of Duty, the reason you go get it is to put it on Game Pass. That's always been the plan. If you've been paying attention, you know it. I know it. We know it. Not sure why gaming journalists don't know it. Again, I think there's a lot of projection happening here. I would love to know what you guys think, though. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Do you think that this is a smart move by Xbox? Do you think that Call of Duty is going to have a substantial... Are they going to move the needle for Game Pass at all? Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. If you like what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button. Like this video. My name is X1 the Gamer. We cover videos like this all the time right here on this channel. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.